Resident Evil 3 Remake came out in 2020, only a year after the release of Remake 2. It brought back characters Jill Valentine and Carlos Oliveira, who have to make their escape from a doomed city while trying to fight an army of the undead and an unrelenting tyrant called Nemesis. Although the game was short, I've managed to put together as many Easter eggs, references, and any other points of interests that I could find. And if you do like this video, subscribe to the channel so that you can stay up to date on future content I put out. Now it's time once again to return to Raccoon City. Starting off in Jill's apartment, you can find on a shelf next to the bed her classic blue beret that she wore during the mansion incident. On the wall nearby are a bunch of posters that appear to show famous people of the 90s. Though I don't recognise them all, one seems to be pop singer Madonna, and another looks like David Beckham on a motorbike. All over the floor are files showing the name Brian Irons, who's the corrupt police chief we see in Remake 2, that Jill is secretly investigating to uncover his connections with Umbrella. There's a couple of points of interest on Jill's desk that is worth a closer look, such as a picture of her dog last seen in a framed photo in the star's office, and the calendar adds a nice detail into Jill's traumatized psyche. Along with the large amounts of sleeping tablets she takes every night and suffering nightmares, we already know how badly she wants to leave the city, when she writes things like, "worst month in my life," and is literally counting down the days that she can leave Raccoon City. The star's photo appears on this wall, and yet again, the image appears to be unchanged since the original game. Another character last seen in Remake 2 appears in this picture, showing Annette Birkin, wife of the G-Virus creator William Birkin. Hidden underneath one of the files you can read is a familiar looking book called the Daily Report. This was Jill's diary in the original RE3 Nemesis game, and this bonus file can only be acquired after obtaining every other file in order. There's plenty of interesting stuff to find all over the fridge. There's a magnet of a green herb that most know is the game series' most common healing item. Another magnet shows the star's custom Beretta pistol called Samurai Edge, made by one of the Kendo brothers. Probable photos of Jill's world travelling days with a possible ex-boyfriend. More photos of Jill and her dog. Another green herbs magnet, and this cool looking magnet shows the same rocket launcher that was used to kill the tyrant in the first game. This was also seen on the fridge, but you can see it a bit more clearer here. On this donut menu, it shows something called Revival Selection, which refers to the Code Veronica and RE4 HD collection that came out in Japan back in 2011 for PS3 and Xbox 360. In the next apartment, before climbing through the window, you can find a poster. If you stop long enough to read it while the Nemesis is hunting you, it says, "Can you escape from this game?" which may be alluding to the Japanese title of the original game, Biohazard 3: Last Escape. This coffee shop is the first of a few references to the classic sci-fi horror film Alien, as the name of the shop is named after the actress who starred in it, Sigourney Weaver, and the shop was established in 1979, which is the year the movie was released. Opposite the cafe is a shop sign that says Ace Music Store, which may be referring to the Capcom game series Ace Attorney. On this street corner, you can find the capsule that the Nemesis was seen in during the intro cutscene, and Jill can even react to it. Outside Bar Jack is a drinks menu that shows the character Morrigan from the Darkstalkers fighting games. When Jill encounters Dario Russo in the warehouse, he cowers inside the shipping container. You can continue to listen to optional dialogue if you interact with the door, but what makes this fun is if you shoot the container, it will provoke several responses from Dario.
Sir! She's trying to kill me! Stop that! You're gonna hear from my lawyer! Stop that! My brother-in-law is a lawyer!
There's plenty of reused assets from the previous games that I've already spoken about in another video. Atop the roof of the car park, Jill will enter a familiar looking vehicle as she tries to run down the Nemesis, as it's the same car design that Ethan Winters drove in RE7. There are plenty of movie posters in the subway that parody real life films, actors and video games. The first poster shows Mars Carlyle, who's the leader of the commando team in the Capcom arcade beat-em-up Captain Commando. The poster next to it promotes another arcade game of the same name and mixes it with a classic 80s movie. Even the names are probably a parody of George Clooney and Carrie Fisher, who weren't even in the actual movie. The disaster picture refers to RE6 and even resembles a promo image of the game. It wasn't a popular entry, and Capcom knew it, as the film title implies. Written at the top it says, "Message received. Time to answer the call," which refers to the need to return to its survival horror roots. This film title is named after another arcade game that came out back in 2008 called Wolf of the Battlefield Commando 3. The picture for Sudden Death Bowling parodies the movie poster Critters 2. These two posters next to each other are references to the Terminator and Alien movies, as the Skullstalker's exoskeleton suit looks similar to the Xenomorphs. What's interesting about the films are they both star leading females, being hunted by an unstoppable force just like Jill and the Nemesis. This image looks Godzilla-like, but given the Alien references, it does resemble the Alien Queen and looks similar to Nemesis' final boss form at the end of the game. And the movie title on the adjoining poster resembles the Alien title. Now this one might be a bit of a stretch, but on the way toward the subway cars, there's an advert which may refer to another Capcom game, Dino Crisis. Some of these comic book covers deserve a closer look. The most obvious one to point out here is Mega Man. The Living Corpse's front cover looks like one of Kami's alternative Street Fighter V costumes, with a tattoo similar to the Shadaloo symbol. The Great Gladiator vs the Executioner is the same Majini from Chapter 1 of RE5. And this Fighting Story comics cover looks like Capcom homaging the King of Fighters game series with an image of someone who resembles Yori Yagamai. Though the city map does change for the remake in some ways, note that the original part of the map from RE3 Nemesis is still showing the old hospital, the area where the clock tower should have been, the park and cemetery, and the location for the Dead Factory, which with the exception of the Spencer Hospital, were all missing from the remake. On the window of Toy Uncle is a poster showing Monster Shooter, which is a reference to the game series Monster Hunter. And this console looks like a crossover between the SNES and the PS1 that homages the early years when Sony and Nintendo were involved in a joint venture to create the never-released SNES CD game console. As a fan of the Outbreak games, I thought this Lone Wolf sign might refer to the gameplay option in which you can go it alone without other NPCs, but could be referring to a character from Operation Raccoon City. The girl on one of the posters of the supermarket window looks curiously similar to the one on the 1960s TV series Bewitched. The same Easter egg found in the original game makes a return here, found across the street from the pharmacy, and refers to the Street Fighter character of the same name. When entering Moon's Donuts, you'll hear the end credit theme from Leon and Claire's B scenario, playing from the original RE2 game. Apart from more Mega Man references, there's a poster in the toy shop called Arthur and refers to the name of the hero in Ghosts and Goblins. Once the Nemesis arrives to kill Jill, you can make your way into the toy shop, where he won't chase you. Instead, he will stand in front of the window, staring at Jill and waiting for her to leave. Before Mikhail blows himself up in the hopes of destroying Nemesis, he quotes a similar line Harrison Ford said in the film Air Force One.
Get off my train. Get off my plane.
After Carlos defeats the zombified Brad Vickers, you can make your way down the nearby steps to the guard room to find a Remake 2 Easter egg of the Star's pilot on a recruitment poster that Carlos can react to.
Sorry, poster boy.
Throughout the RPD segment of the game, Carlos will react to certain things depending on what the player does. One of those moments happens in the main hall that even gets Tyrell to respond.
Now here's a weird fucking door.
Leave it. We're here for Bard.
In the dark room, Carlos says this.
Well, if cameras killed those things, I'd be set.
This may be referencing either the Dead Rising camera game mechanics or a reference to another survival horror game called Fatal Frame, in which a camera is used to exorcise evil spirits. As I've covered many Easter eggs in the RPD building in my previous video, I won't retrace the same stuff here, but with one exception. The bronze statue with the inscription on the base reveals a quote that says, "We do it," and it wasn't really clear to see before, so here it is again, and it refers to the special Capcom message back in 2015 from the producers to the fans, confirming the RE2 remake was happening. In the men's changing room, an action prompt will appear on one of the lockers only after Carlos reads a file nearby, about the person within the locker in question, who became infected and hid himself inside. This leads to Carlos making a smart choice, and it's a pity he didn't leave the note behind for Leon. In the Star's office, behind Wesker's former desk, is the same Star's photograph we saw back in Jill's apartment, and Carlos can react to it.
Is that Jill in the front row?
While still in the Star's office, you can have a go at shooting at the dartboard. When Carlos hits the bullseye, he and Tyrell respond.
Oh yeah, the kid still got it.
Let that be a lesson to all dartboards.
In the Spencer Memorial Hospital, Carlos can mess around with the voice authentication device if he doesn't have the recorder with the tape.
Dr. Bard, are you in there? I'm here to rescue you. Open the door.
No voice match found.
Open sesame.
No voice match found.
This is Nathaniel Bard. Open the door, please.
No voice match found.
Come on, let me in, you piece of shit.
No voice match found.
On the second floor, a familiar cutscene of the one from the original RE1 game happens where we see a hunter run toward the player from their perspective. In the Nest 2 lab, there's a scene where Tyrell is killed by Nemesis in a similar way to Bishop, where he's impaled by the alien queen at the end of Aliens. Hey everyone, thanks for watching this video if you've made it this far, and I hope you enjoyed it. I'll be doing more Resident Evil Easter egg videos this month, and you can view my RE2 remake video if you haven't seen it yet and want to. It's up on the channel now, along with several other RE titles that I'll link you to at the end of this outro. There's plenty of things I've omitted from this video because I already covered them in the previous vid, so it mainly focuses on stuff in the RPD building, so you can check that out if you want. Also, if you haven't yet, it would mean a great deal to me if you can show your support by subscribing and leaving a like. And as always, a big thanks to all of you who have been supporting the channel. So until the next video, bye everyone.